workers' rights amendments, diversity hiring in the union trades, Illinois' recently passed budget and how it affects labor and contractor safety, and how it affects craftsmanship. This event is proudly sponsored by the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150. You are invited to attend free of charge Tuesday, June 4th from 3 to 5 p.m. at Premier Catering and Events in Countryside, located at 6240 Joliet Road, just west of Local 150 and LaGrange Road. Please visit WCPT820.com and click on the banner for the labor panel to reserve your free ticket.
Think Theory Radio.
Theoretical astrophysicist Dan Hooper.
If there's someplace a light year away from now, there's nothing I can do now that can influence that place in less than a year. No matter what I do, no matter how I build my quantum machine, or no matter what I entangle or what I quantum teleport, nothing I can do here can affect that until a full year has passed, allowing light to get there at the speed of light.
Think Theory Radio with Damian Perdue. Saturdays at 6 p.m. on WCPT 820. This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
The following program, Collaboraction Radio, is sponsored by Collaboraction, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of Heartland Signal, LLC, or its management.
Give it to me. Come on, Bev. I know you're going to start singing.
One time now.
Are you going to start singing?
Nope. Mm-mm.
And she's feeling good. Dun, dun, dun. All right.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Collaboraction Radio. We're so excited to have you with us today. We're at the intersection of art, activism, and social change. We're excited for you to join with us. We have an exceptionally exciting guest today, and we can't wait. What you just heard was the sounds of the iconic DJ Lady D. So definitely check her out. She's very involved with us as well, and is our board president. So you want to learn more about her, get to know. You are joining us live at WCPT 820 AM, Chicago's Progressive Talk Radio, and also streaming live on Facebook and YouTube if you want to check us out there and see our pretty faces. If you have to head out because you're on your way somewhere important, you can check out the rest of our show on Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you listen to your podcasts. So we're excited for you to join us.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
And I just want to say, if you are watching the video, at the beginning of the show, I'm looking down at my phone because I'm sharing the live stream onto Facebook. I wish you would go to Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn, but that's what I'm doing, and that's because you can watch it live on Collaboration's Facebook page, WCPT's Facebook page, YouTube, and you could catch it in the very near future on Spotify and Apple Podcast. You know, there was a short while where, while I was running Collaboration, I had this fantasy that if I were to open up a theater, I would call it In the Very Near Future. That'd be the name of the theater. And people would be like, where are you going to go see the show? And he'd be like, in the very near future. And they'd be like, no, where? It was like a who's on first
What's on second?
Theater joke. And I didn't get much further than that, but
didn't quite stick.
Then it's not really a good thing. But it amused me in the back of my mind for 10 years. I would write scenes of like that conversation. Yeah. But why, you ask? Theater why? Melissa Lorraine is our guest today. She's from Theater Y, and she's doing really great things, and so is that organization in North Lawndale. She has a really great narrative and mission and practice over there, and we're excited to have her on the show to share a little of all of that. And she's a white woman that has committed her life against racism and oppression and much more. But she has committed her life to bringing theater to communities that have not had it, and to like really integrate and celebrate life with that community in North Lawndale. So she's here. Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. At Collaboration Radio, where you can catch us every Saturday at 4 p.m. live on the radio. I did see LCD Sound System last night, and there is a song that goes on the radio, and I had a good. I must have burned 500 calories. I had a good dance. My knee held up, and we brought our 16-year-old daughter, my wife and I, and that was pretty cool. And what's up with you, Bev?
I just got back from a really fun tea party in a Chicago South Shore neighborhood. There's a really awesome organization that is doing a lot of community service work, and so one of my sorority sisters is involved, and that was a really great way to kind of kick off the weekend, is just being around a really cool group of folks that are fundraising and trying to get back where they live. And so kind of in a similar essence and segue as we celebrate our guest today, I'd love to kick us off with maybe talk to us about your what drove you to pursue this work, and maybe give our audience maybe a little window as to kind of your journey into maybe how you started at the very beginning of that work, and then sitting here in front of us today, maybe share.
Okay.
It's a super light question.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to give the right length answer, because I can talk about this.
And that is, we have an hour.
Well, just do the tease. Because we still have to do your narrative, your bio.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's always nice to hear your own bio,
Okay. So the tease of Theater Y.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I am the co-founding artistic director of Theater Y. I started it 18 years ago together with the late Christopher Markle. And we are a free theater and all-ages ensemble in North Lawndale, recently relocated to North Lawndale. That's our final destination as an organization. Prior to that, we've been rather nomadic around the city. And we are, I was inspired or compelled to start Theater Y when I encountered the writing of Romanian playwright Andras Vișchi, who was sentenced to prison under communism at the age of 1.5. And so his plays and his person and his plays really focus on freedom. And that was the journey that the company has been on for 18 years, with various twists and turns that brought us here today. And in addition to working with new and established talent, we also work to uncover buried talent inside of our prisons. We have an ensemble of men who are serving life sentences inside of Stateville Correctional Center, and under our current laws will never be allowed out, even though they are fully rehabilitated and some of the most incredible people I've ever known. So that's a lot of our work too, is to try to bring them back into the public eye in any way that we can. Filming their work inside and trying to share it with the state so that people become aware of the fact that we have no parole in Illinois.
Wow.
I think it's important to say that one more time. We repeat that last sentence because people do not realize this.
No. We are one of 16 states that does not have parole. We got rid of it in 1978 when we discovered that it was racist. So we just decided we wouldn't parole anyone. Rather than addressing the racism of our parole board, we decided everyone could just stay locked up forever.
And that is an example of institutional racism. Mm-hmm. Because, if all it took was us wanting to change it, we would change that, clearly. Mm-hmm. But it takes a bunch of other things to happen, and those things have to have power and figures that have keys to unlock society. And we're going to talk about that and a bunch more stuff. And we have a collaboration in the in the mix. Maybe we could just figure it all out today, live on the air. We'll talk. I think we should talk about that.
If you're, I was going to say, if what you're listening to and hearing the teaser as we dive into our conversation is something you want to join in on, we do have a call-in number, and so you can call us at 773-763-9278 if you want to ask questions about that or want to join in with us. Before we dive right in, a little bit about Collaboraction and why this work is important. We are a 27-year nonprofit whose mission is to build knowledge, empathy, dialogue, action, or KEDA, as we call it, around oppression and inequity through live theater, film, and now radio, which you're listening to. That leverages the power of storytelling and community to cultivate positive social change.
This is I think it's our 46th episode.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming up actually on our year anniversary. June 15th will be our year anniversary on Collaboration Radio. So we'll have to stop saying, we'll have to cut the "and" now because it's not new anymore.
Right. And so we want to just take a moment to give thanks to, the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation and donors and members like you who are listening in and supporting the work that we're doing and Melissa's work as well. You can email us at radio@collaboraction.org or go to www.collaboraction.org to learn more, be a part of the conversation, share an idea. Our doors are open. But today's episode of Collaboration Radio is sponsored by AV Chicago.
AV Chicago.
Chicago's leading provider of AV production and event management services, and Ethos Collective. Ethos Event Collective is a purpose-driven destination and event management company that seeks to become a trusted strategic ally to your business as we delight your audience and generate impactful outcomes. So if that excites you as well, visit ethoseventcollective.com to learn more and schedule a meeting with their team. You heard a little bit about her mission and story, and to amplify that, Anthony's going to share the full bio of our.
We have some Collaboration news.
Delighted guest. And before we do that, breaking
Breaking
this
news. This just in. July 19th will be our next House of Belonging event with the Sandra Delgado Experience at Epiphany Center for the Arts. Get your tickets by June 3rd, and there is a discount. And Sandra did a show there last December, and it was, folks called it a spiritual cabaret. She's got an amazing 6-piece band, and she puts these bands together, not trying to background her, but really each person is kind of a force. And I don't know who's in the version this time. She kind of builds different bands for different themes. The theme for this July is Summer Lovin'.
Had me up a laugh.
And then August 23rd, we will be co-producing with Teatro Vista, La Habana Madrid at Pritzker Pavilion in Millennium Park as part of the 20th year anniversary season. And if you have not seen La Habana Madrid, this is your chance. It is, I think, the 6th run of the show. It's had 4 previous sold out lauded, standing room only, standing ovation happenings. It was produced at South Coast Repertory last summer in California, and it has a 1-day performance. It is free. Bring the family, and we will be dancing and telling the stories of real Chicago Latina folks in the 60s who came here to create a new home for themselves. And we have new Chicagoans who in 2023 and 24 came to Chicago to make a new home. So the show is really powerful. Come check that out. Also, our youth program has started. Pinky Ring is our new director of youth programming, working with Linda Soul. And we have an amazing group of 11 young people who are being paid to learn as artists and activists. And they will be touring the parks in late July and performing at Kids-A-Palooza. And Melissa, our young people this year are super spectacular. I hope that you can get to see them.
I'd love to.
And what else is going on? Oh, I don't know. We're trying to raise $1.5 million. We announced the capital campaign, and we're closing in on $400,000. So one donation at a time. We will continue this campaign until we hit it, and that'll really launch Collaboraction's new era. I'm calling it the 7th era. But it begins at our new space in the Kimball Arts Center, which has got we're calling it a house of belonging. What does that mean? It means that we belong to each other, and everybody belongs in that space. We are all on a journey, and we can only learn from each other, and especially if we really take some ownership over each other's wellness. And that's what we really want to do at that space. So there'll be a cabaret and a bar, and that space will be ripe for poetry, comedy, solo duets, trios,
stage productions.
Well, that and then in the bigger theater, which is really a well-suited studio that will be theater, dance, film, workshops, and more right there at 1757 North Kimball. So please consider making a donation. We've had some amazing gifts come our way since we announced the campaign, and we are going to be reaching out to all of our friends, family, and patrons. And so if you haven't already donated, we're going to reach out. Be ready for a call. We're going to reach out, and we want to tell you about our plan and see how you can become a part of it. And you can become a member for as little as $1 a month, and that member will show up on your experience when you come see us at the Kimball Arts Center. So, yay. Melissa Lorraine, the co-founding artistic director of Theater Y, graduated from Northern Illinois University with a BFA in acting. Lorraine became a company member of Studio K in Budapest, Hungary, co-founding Theater Y with now-deceased director Christopher Markle, premiering the English language version of Transylvanian writer Andras Visky's Juliet, with over 200 performances worldwide. You did over 200 performances of that?
Yes.
Wow. And where did you do that first?
The first was here in Chicago, in the Chicago area. We brought Andras. Well, so do you want that story?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was an actress in Studio K in Budapest, and it was 10 years after the fall of communism. And so they were kind of in their 60s era where they could have nudity on stage for the first time and things like this. And I felt very exploited and very vulnerable as a woman. And I lost my interest in the theater almost immediately, even though this was like a dream job fresh out of college. And then I was handed this play, Juliet, by Andras Visky, and I cried through the reading. I had never seen anything on paper like it. And I thought, if I'm going to give my voice to someone, it's going to be someone like this. This is extraordinary. And I wrote to him and I said, can I shake your hand the next time you're in Budapest? And he said, I hate Budapest. Why don't you come visit me in Transylvania? And I had an expired visa. I should not have been showing it to anyone. I should not have been allowed back into Hungary, but I just felt compelled to meet this person. And he welcomed me into his home, added water to the soup. I mean, the beginning of radical hospitality in my life. And halfway through the week, he said, I think you should do the English premiere of this play, which was not what I had come asking for, really. You
just wanted to shake his hand. That's a good line. I got to use that one. That's really good.
So I came back to the States as soon as my contract was up and started figuring out a way to produce that play. Found a college professor of mine who was interested in, Christopher Markle was a college professor of mine at NIU. And we went back and forth to Romania to prepare the play with Andras. And when Andras came to Chicago to see the premiere, he said, I can write you 6 more plays. You should start a company. So we started Theater Y as an excuse to produce Andras Visky plays. And he, true to his word, showed up with a play written for me called I Killed My Mother. And we started rehearsing that play, and that's when the director passed away unexpectedly. And so we didn't have it complete. And I didn't know how to have a theater company as an actor. I'd never heard of an actor running a theater company. So I only had Juliet as my one complete product. And so I started touring it ad nauseum, like a broken record, different city every weekend for 3 years, from Palestine to a prison on the north side of Chicago.
You performed it in Palestine?
In Jericho, in Jerusalem, in Bethlehem.
And how was this funded?
The tour really grew on its own. So each performance, someone would be in the audience and say, I'd like you to come to this place. And so they would pay for it. Each venue paid for the show. Wow.
So I really am trying to hone in on intuition, and really tune into my own, act on it, and bring it up. Because also, like, the idea of talking about intuition is intuition, right? So if I'm like thinking about intuition all the time, I need to. So when you reached out to him, and I wanted to say Budapest too, but I've never been there. So
sorry, I can't
it's like when you go to Cologne, Germany for the first time, and then they go, it's Köln, and then you say it's Köln, and then they go, no, it's Cologne
for you.
And then you say Cologne, and then they say Köln. I'm like, geez, Nuremberg, Okay, so when you tell us about, do you remember the feeling of, I'm going to reach out to him, because this is actually your whole life that was changed at that moment.
Yep.
When did that happen?
I reached out in 2002, and I think...
what was the thing that made you reach out?
I could feel that he had stripped on the page. Like, there was a vulnerability that I found in the writing that has now become a bar for me, where if the playwright doesn't lead by stripping, the director can't strip, the actors can't strip. It starts with the playwright. The playwright has to be, and we can all mess it up after him, keep our clothes on and ruin his lead, but we can't take our clothes off if he hasn't, or she hasn't, So there was just a raw, I don't even know how to explain it. I mean, it was the story of his mother trying to keep him and his 6 siblings alive in a prison camp. And it was really his first play, or I guess his second play. And he was the youngest of the kids. He would catch her trying to hide her tears from the kids when she was struggling with the pain of watching them die, which she was sure that she was set up to be another Job, where all of her children would be killed in front of her for her edification. Mm-hmm. And she refused it. And so she leveraged her life to resist that. She felt like if she died, God would have to rescue the kids because there would be no point in killing them anymore. She felt like killing them was to grow her. And if she were already dead, there would be no reason to kill them. So she succumbed to a heart condition and collapsed, and had handed over the kids to another woman to care for, and was brought to a morgue, found not quite dead, and brought to a morgue. They thought she would die soon enough, and the morgue was just a pile of bodies. And she was in there for 3 days, and in her own personal memoir, she talks about a fight that she had with God while half alive in this morgue. And he used that idea, this conversation that she has alone, as the basis of the play. So the play is a one-woman show. It's a kind of knockdown, drag-out fight between a woman who refuses her fate and her God.
When was the last time you performed it?
2020.
I have a thing about putting people on the spot. Are there a few lines you can share with us? Do you remember any of it? Think about it. She starred in Visky's I Killed My Mother, back to the bio, earning a Chicago Best Actress Orgy Award and a rave review from Ben Brantley on the front page of the New York Times Arts section. Lauded by the Chicago Reader for turning even an overwritten and implausible script into probing, harrowing, hallucinogenic truth for her first directorial work on Vincent River in 2011. Since then, she has produced and performed or directed over 40 works of theater. Collaborating with George Bigot for 1 year, Lorraine developed a Theater Y ensemble of 16 actors, according to the traditions of the Theater du Soleil. She now leads this ensemble to discover a common language and a new way to work, searching for a way to make theater without the dictator. In 2018, she began to research movement therapy for trauma rehabilitation and works on prison abolition with an ensemble of men serving extreme sentences at Statesville Correctional Center. Welcome to Collaboration Radio, Melissa.
Thank you. Is this the moment where I'm supposed to?
No.
Spotlight and
No. I've removed the I can't remember any lines of shows that I've done. I could fake it, though. But you have a real playwright, so you have to honor.
It's true. It ends with "I walk on, I walk on, I walk on."
Wow, and that's appropriate because our friend Rochelle is walking on to Montgomery, Alabama right now. She left from Theater Y.
That's right.
So did you have a moment of intuition when you're like, I'm going to North Lawndale, or this is the building? Tell us about what you're doing in North Lawndale with your building and the company and all that.
So there've been a couple kind of critical decisions that occurred in the company's history that brought us here. The first was when we decided we did not want to hire and fire actors after every production. We wanted to create an ensemble and to make a collective that we could tell every story with, and that we could develop much more trust between and jump off the cliff much more willingly each time. So that happened in 2015. In 2018, we became a free theater, and that was part of a decision. We felt like churches were dying in America, which was fine. I have no strong feeling one way or the other. The main loss I felt was that perhaps there wouldn't be spaces, intersectional spaces, free intersectional spaces where everyone from every walk of life could converge and have dialogues about the situations we were facing. And so we felt like the theater could take that space if they took away the ticket price at the door. As long as there was a charge for entry, we would always be an elite group discussing problems in an elite way. And so we discovered this model that started at Oracle Theater, which is a membership model where certain people pay a monthly amount to keep the doors open for free. And we hoped that we would see our audience transform by doing that. And it didn't. We were in Lincoln Square at the time, on the far north side. And so people from Lincoln Square were very happy to take the free ticket, but they didn't need it. And we just felt like we were not located well to be the resource we wanted to be in the city. So we started looking for where to move. And we were invited to North Lawndale. And there was one man on Pulaski who had bought some property, and he wanted a free theater as part of his campus. And we thought, as soon as the invitation came, the light bulb went off for me. My sister, my brother-in-law have lived in North Lawndale for 30 years. They adopted 3 boys from the neighborhood, and I worked at Wyman for several years as his executive assistant. So I know a lot of people in the neighborhood who were once very small, who are now very tall, and it's a second home to me that I had never lived in. But it felt very obvious, a place that I already loved dearly and didn't feel foreign to me. And so we started the process of moving into that location. We got a grant from the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund for that spot, and then discovered that the owner of the property was not interested in the city oversight for use of those funds. And so it was just not a match. We couldn't use the money we had in that location. But we had a Tribune article come out about our attempt at relocating. And so IFF reached out to us and said, if you'd like to purchase a building, we would be interested in giving you a loan. At the time, our budget was like $100,000 a year, and we were a free theater, so we would never have dreamed that we could have bought anything. But with that offer, we started looking for a building. We met with the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council to try to understand how Theater Y could evolve to best serve the community that we were moving to. And one of the things they said to us was, if you can buy a building that's larger than your needs, a lot of good work is happening in the neighborhood in silos. And if you can be a hub of mission-aligned nonprofits and allow synergy between multiple efforts taking place in the neighborhood, that would be a gift to the community. So that was the beginning of looking for a 30,000 square foot building. I mean, we were not looking for that size building initially. So we looked for 3 years. It took us 3 years to actually close on the building that we are at now at 3611 West Cermak. It wasn't even on the market when we found it. I was so desperate at that point that I answered a Craigslist ad for the storefront space just to have boots on the ground. And when I came to look at the storefront, he said, "Oh, you're a theater, you might be interested in other parts of the building," and takes me on a tour of the building, during which I had to hide my enthusiasm because it was so obviously a theater. I mean, the loading dock of this storage building was already a theater. And so it took a year to close on the building, and we are very happily, humbled to have an extraordinary building that is in the process of being landmarked, actually, by the city.
And the address is?
3611 West Cermak, on Cermak and Central Park.
Yeah, so what's on? I know there's the Friday Night Swerve. I got to get over there for that. So tell our listeners a little bit about what's happening there and the great Marvin Tate.
Yeah, so Marvin Tate climbed into the vision very early on. He is originally from North Lawndale, and he's a giant. If you don't know him, you should. He's in his 60s, and he's had a really glorious international career. And at this stage in his life, he really wants to bring it home. And so he had this dream for... He was an eclectic artist who had to leave North Lawndale in order to get the training he wanted to have. And so his dream was to have a conservatory in Lawndale where the weirdos like him could learn any art form they pleased. And so he's really been at the helm of helping us envision what the company can be moving forward. We have two spaces. The storefront space is kind of a cabaret vibe, and then the back theater is a big warehouse. And so the cabaret storefront begs for live music and all sorts of things beyond theater. And we felt like music is kind of a gateway drug. Like if you can come in for the music, maybe you'll go further back for the longer piece of theater one day. And so he along with several other artists, Willie Round, Ashaki McLean, and Haywire, are curating 4 evenings or 4 Fridays every month. The first one is called The Feature, where Willie Round, also known as Prince Rock, chooses an artist of his choice to interview and then give the stage to for the night. The second Friday is what we're calling the exhibition, which is Haywire. An award-winning dancer brings a bunch of other award-winning dancers to show off in front of each other. It's the most remarkable experience.
Haywire is incredible. He's been featured on The World of Dance. We've done a lot of work with him at Collaboration, and of course his pops is Phenom, Chicago legend and leader of the MC School.
A weapon of mass construction.
That's right. That's right. And Willie Round is a Collaboration company member. And Marvin Tate, we actually produced Marvin's Tate's It's a Good Day in the Neighborhood. In rep with Tanika Lewis Johnson's Folded Map in the Flatiron during our Encounter series. And Marvin Tate is so unique because he's an outsider artist celebrity and poet and frontman. He's like a frontman, like there used to be, people that really took the mic and like weren't like all coy and cool and emo, but like leading, using your body as an instrument and guiding. He just and he had that one track that I used to like, too many hairs in a car, too many hairs in a car last night. We're attracted to the same kind of beautiful weirdos.
I love the way you just described him. It was his night last night, and I feel like you were there.
Well, actually, we have a video of him from Peace Book that we did at the K. Ryan Arts Center in Austin a few years ago, and he closed out the night. I'm like, no one can follow Marvin. That's not fair, right? So it's like supposed to be 7 minutes or less, and he does a 27-minute improv abstract narrative about a white girl named Becky who was like lived in the neighborhood and was like accepted as a black person. But he also just started then pulling out little things that he's done. He's done so many different things that he can easily pull into a pocket of lyrics or poetry, and you should check it out. It's really long. Half the people were like, what was that? And the other half was like, I didn't know I needed a 27-minute break from reality.
So believe it.
And I just love the way, though, like you follow your heart. And when one door opens, you go, there must be another door here, because that's how that door opened. And now here you are sitting with a 30,000 square foot multi-used hub in North Lawndale with a cabaret, a theater, a bunch of other studios, and a big roof. How do you handle and think of the responsibility of gentrification?
It's really a big, big question. Because obviously revitalization is non-negotiable. We can't, the status quo is unacceptable. And gentrification feels unavoidable because money wins, right? And so we are very sober about the way that theaters have been wielded as the front line of gentrification since the beginning of time. The artists make it cool, and then they get pushed out when it flips, but they started it, and there's no question they started it. So we can't just say we don't mean to gentrify or push the community out of this area like in 20 years to shrug and say, but that wasn't our intention. It feels like we have to take very seriously and personally the consequence of our presence. And so we are trying to bring wild ideas to the table along with our presence. We have an architect who's working with us, she's been on our board for years and years, and she is pitching a geothermal heating and cooling pilot site at our campus. What this would mean is that an immediate radius surrounding our building could tap into this utility line that would reduce their utilities by $1,000 per year per household. And in theory, leave that money in their pocket to address any increase in taxes or in rent that our presence might precipitate. It may not work, but we have to be coming with some kind of idea to say, how do we hold our neighbors in place while we participate in revitalizing the community and offering points of normalcy that should have been here years ago, that can't go one more year not here. You know, we're hoping to have a cafe in our building and a bookstore in our building. There's the North Lawndale Community Coordinating Council also requested that we be open during the day and not just in the evening, because there really is nowhere to get in out of the heat or out of the sun or out of the cold. And we as a free theater would really struggle to be open 24/7. But if we partner with these other businesses, the cafe and the bookstore are open during the day and we take over in the evening. And so those three signs, books, coffee, theater, I want those on Cermak, you know. And for that extra, you know, if you come for the coffee, you discover the bookstore and the theater. Or if you come for the bookstore, you discover the coffee and the theater, you know. It just would help increase the traffic in the space. But that's just one idea at the moment. And we're not promising that it's the solution. We're just saying we have to be more than artists, meaning that I guess one thing that happened for me that helped me step into these spaces that I have no experience in and no expertise in, for a long time I felt like the theater's job was to hold up a mirror to the warts of society. And we did that for years and years. And it's what most theaters are doing. But then we did a Camino project, which was a walking performance through the city. And I felt like we were participating in creating a new world, that we were giving people a vision of a kind of society that maybe they didn't. I mean, the way that the strangers bonded over the course of this experience and the vision of a group of strangers traipsing through the city joyfully for the passersby, for the people who hadn't come to see the show. All of it was shocking and not of our doing. We were just provoking the best in humankind. And then everybody has now seen that and now believes in it in a way that they couldn't before they saw it. So the theater, it has a creative, like a Genesis kind of creative capacity, that when you're busy just holding up a mirror to the warts, you're letting go of the power that you have to build new things, to present new universes, new possibilities to the public. And so we started trying to take that power really seriously. Like, can we apply it to real estate? Can we apply it to green initiatives? Can we be creatives beyond the theater making itself? Can we take it upon ourselves to see how far of a creative reach we can have and how much we can involve ourselves in social issues that have historically maybe been beyond the purview of a theater?
And it's creating a 4D experience, really. And I think something that you said that for those who are listening to, as we think about the word gentrification, I think that often gets missed, right? It isn't just the free element, right? Like, I appreciate what your group and many other groups in the city are doing to think beyond, I think sometimes this is a knee jerk, is like having a pay what you can, right? Or, those kind of things, like that's the entry point. But to hear, the dynamics around being creative and elevating the space, as Chicago continues to evolve, and we were on the show a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things Anthony called out is like, how do we pull people in and, who are siloing themselves, or they're on their vacations in Aspen and they're doing all these things, the very people that we need to reach to bring attention to the stories we're trying to tell. And, another example of that is when, Collaboraction went to Highland Park to showcase Child in the Delta. That's how I came on board. But it's exactly to that piece of like being in the mix. If you keep things within the house, and even if the lights are on, even if the door is open, you have to want to walk into the house. And so if you bring people out of the house, like you say, like walking into the street, engaging with the community, there's no escaping that. Mm-hmm. And and hearing you speak to, passersby, we're all naturally inquisitive as humans. And I know myself, and I'm sure other folks listening, you're driving down the street. If you see a parade going by, you're looking at, wait, what's that? What's going on over there? Oh, I want to be a part of that. Shoot, I didn't know there was a parade today. And it always happens. Or you see a festival or a block party. I know myself, I'm like, oh, I wish I had an invite. And then I'm looking at, well, when's the next block party? Because I want to, hang out. It's that same concept of almost placating to that, I think, knee-jerk FOMO that a lot of people have. But then, why is that? Why aren't you willingly participating in the space? And so to hear those dynamics, it's so critical to pull people out of, I think, silos that people generate due to whatever excuses and validations.
It was when Collaboraction started touring to the parks, and in 2012-13. That we did really, our community shifted in a major way. And we have been talking for a while about a collaboration. And we have a show that we premiered during the pandemic called Moonset Sunrise. It's a really special piece of healing theater. And we haven't announced the date yet. And we might not even know the date yet. But we will be bringing it to Theater Y this fall. And so stay tuned for that. And Bertolt Brecht, I believe, said, theater is not a mirror to hold up to society, but is a hammer to break the mirror.
That's a great way of saying it.
Well, thank you for all of that. So how long have you really been identifying yourself, maybe always, but for me, there was you can't say the word anymore because it's a joke to say woke, but there is a moment in a white person's life where they will go, oh my God, I was a part of the problem and I didn't realize it. I thought I was a good person, but I was complicit and I wasn't pushing back and I wasn't speaking up and I wasn't learning and reading history. And I know when that moment happened for me. When did that moment happen for you? And where are you on your journey as a white person who will never be able to fully untangle the learning of whiteness, but who is working to do that?
Yeah, the inspiration of the company being András Vizsgyi, he would always center his plays on the marginalized. He would say that the Holy Spirit lived closer to the marginalized. And he brought plays to me about orphans, the marginalized population in his country is the Roma population. He brought plays to me about the Roma. And so we were, and women, they were always women too. He writes women really well because he grew up without his father because he was incarcerated in a different prison. But so I always knew that our work was about liberation and about giving voice to the marginalized. And I think I also really understood advocacy. I understood that András was advocating for women in a way that women couldn't advocate for themselves. And I appreciated that dynamic in the world, that there is just, it's like a lawyer. The reason we have lawyers is because we don't believe you when you speak on behalf of yourself. We believe you when someone speaks on your behalf. And especially if they are not like you. So I understood that element of humanity and was trying to participate in the ways that were in front of me. And I think, sadly, it really took 2020. We were already headed out of Lincoln Square. But I think the murder of George Floyd was shocking in a way that it should not have been. And when that lesson landed, I didn't want to have to learn it twice. And I felt like I had been telling the stories of the marginalized everywhere and not addressing the marginalized at home, in my home. And I feel like you kind of have to choose an issue in your life. There are many, many things that we could hurl ourselves at, but we can't hurl ourselves at everything. And when it landed really hard in 2020, I felt like if we can overcome racism in America, we can tackle anything. Everything else will be able to follow whatever roadmap we wrote out of this horror. Anything else would benefit from unriddling this. This felt like the monster that would take down all monsters somehow. And I felt really confident about dedicating my life to this one issue, not to neglect the others, but to lead the way for all other, I don't know what to call it, all other transformation.
Well, can you put words to that issue? Like, what is the sentence of what that issue is to you?
Our inheritance, trying not to accept things as they are, always fighting to expand the realm of what we believe is possible for our species. Right? I think that's. I can remember. Okay, I think this is important to say. I don't know how old I was. I was born in France and raised in France in a very diverse church. And I moved to the United States when I was 9, and I remember learning the concept of racism as a 9 or 10-year-old in America. It was an American phenomenon to me. Obviously, France is full of racism, but I had not encountered it as a child yet. And I really, I ran into it hard in America. And I remember having the thought, oh, wow, I think I lucked out. Like, I drew the right card with this skin color here, you know? Mm. And I remember having the, whew, thought.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's what you have to mature out of, is the given circumstances and how they're playing out for you.
It is a lottery, the role you are cast in this caste system. It is a lottery.
Well, just before we, I don't mean to.
No,
I
please.
I just want to say how important it is that you acknowledge that you had that realization, because I think that's the first phase in anyone of any privileged background, is not being fearful of saying there was a time where I was happy with or grateful for the fact that I had the privilege, whatever that is. And I think the first barrier of entry is saying exactly that. I was, thank goodness I'm not, thank goodness I'm cis, or thank goodness I'm straight, or thank goodness I am white, or thank goodness I'm Christian in a predominantly Christian area. Like, there's so many elements of that, but it almost feels like, for a lot of folks, an affront to them, just say, well, can you acknowledge that you at one point said that? And I think for the work, I just want to take space for that it's the acknowledgement of that, as I think is just the biggest barrier of entry. And we talk a lot about, in social justice work and in theater work in general, being able to tell the stories is one thing, because you can almost put on that skin, stand on stage, tell the tale. But if it's inauthentic, you can take that skin off and go to IHOP with your friends afterwards and say, I really did the thing. I played Maureen in Rent, and I did Joanne, and I'm now better for. But you weren't acknowledging how your potential impacts indicated there. So I just want to give space to you stating that was a thought you had, and I think a lot of people do for their privileged backgrounds, but are afraid of, what does that realization mean? Mm-hmm. What does it say about me? Am I a terrible person? And how can I have that dialogue? And so spaces like Theater Y, spaces like Collaboration, and so many others in Chicago, creating dens of belonging to acknowledge and then discuss.
Well, because, right, and everybody should really do this. Sit down and think about what your privileges are. Mm-hmm. Because your privilege is also known as a blind spot. And if you want to grow at a human, the way you do is you get visibility into your blind spots. Mm-hmm. And it's usually the reflections from other people and other stories that give you insights into your blind spots. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely what we try to do. Through losing yourself in a story, you can learn new things and feel new things and go, oh, that's what it's like. I didn't realize that. And of course you were born in France. You just tell.
What does that mean?
Je ne sais quoi. What is the ultimate French dinner for you?
Crepes, but like savory ones,
Like with spinach.
What else? What else?
Other great French food?
I don't know. Yeah, my daughter started working at Mon Ami Gabi.
Oh,
she's a host there, and for the test, she memorized every ingredient of every menu item. And then she took the test and she was like, oh my God, I could have passed that one. It was much easier. I said, but now you know what's in the apricot tapenade. and shout out to Mon Ami Gabi. Sandra, my wife, and I worked at Cafe Babariba and in the late 90s. And that is a Spanish tapas restaurant that's led by Chef Gobino Sotelino. He is the Gabi in Mon Ami Gabi, and a great let's entertain you restaurant. And I just like to throw them some love because they've been really great to our family over the years.
That's really nice.
It's time to go, I think. We're running out of time. It goes fast, doesn't it? By the way, there was a moment where you said something really cool, and I looked up. It was 4:44 and 44 seconds. And my daughter has a thing about 444. Do you know about 444? No. If you ever see 444, it means like there's an angel looking out for you. There's
1111 is changes coming.
Right. What is 444? Is it?
444 is you have guardians.
You have guardians.
Aware of you.
And so you have guardians. They're watching over you. You have 40,000 ancestors, and they're all rooting you on. Wow. Thanks for hanging out, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Next week, we have a really cool thing we're going to be exploring. The Freshwater Lab is throwing the Backward River Festival at the Damon Silo City on June 8th. Yuri Lane is going to be in with some of the artists from the Backward River Festival. They're trying to bring attention to this thing that's going on over there, and they're a not so environmentally friendly development is happening. And so some artists are going to bring attention to that because water is life. Thank you for joining us on Collaboraction Radio, everybody.
I'm Beverly.
And I'm Anthony Mosley. That was Melissa Lorraine of Theater Y. It's a beautiful day, Memorial Day weekend in Chicago. Mm-hmm. We're the Miami of the Midwest, folks. So just get out there and have some fun in the sun.
The preceding program, Collaboraction Radio, was sponsored by Collaboraction, and to the extent applicable, their